Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. We are virtual only. We're based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. You can contact us with the phone number listed if you'd like to. We do the thought behind the thought, the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality. Why were we born for such a time as this? Our existence. What is going on? What's driving whatever you're seeing in the news or throughout prophecy and things like that? We try to solve a little bit of Revelation each week. We're really working on Revelation 17 in Babylon this week. So I've been predicting that something bad would occur during Jeroboam's false Sukkot. I'll show you that in a couple of slides. What crash, which crash? That's kind of the direction that I was going with this, but I wasn't sure. So the main thing is there is the true Sukkot, and then there's Jeroboam's false Sukkot found in 1 Kings 12. And so you've got the true Sukkot that started out in October and is just a wonderful, blessed time. And it is listed. Yeshua talked about it. And then in John 7:37, and then also it is listed in Zechariah 2 in terms of when Yeshua would return. Well, especially Ezekiel 38:39. It's a Sukkot type of a war against the nations. So keep in mind that started on Halloween, and the markets went up. And there's nothing that should be pushing the markets up, but they went up because I think people are going to try to take out the market at some point in time, and they want their money out at a high point because they don't care about you. Okay, they don't, and you know that too. Okay, so there are different things going on. There's the true Sukkot where you come down to Jerusalem. The false Sukkot, you go up to Bethel. The false Sukkot, you have golden calves. The false Sukkot, you have the wrong date. It's a mess. Okay, so how does that relate to financial guys? Well, the god of this world is their money. And JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, he's pulling out now. Now he's 67. But what he's going to do, there's no specific reason for JP Morgan stock sale. I'm saying there's a reason. It's time to get out. Things are going to crash. And so he's just another rat. And I'm saying there are more and will be more of these rats leaving the sinking ship because there's nothing financially holding our system together. Now, that doesn't mean that the dollar is going to crash right away, but you're noticing the economy is tanking. When stock markets go up and the regular people on the street are going down, and inflation's bonkers. You know, just keep that in mind. So Diamond, I could have put trained monkeys in his position and had his stock price of JP Morgan increased by 160%. Okay, just a computer. Yeah, or monkeys. It would have been just as accurate as what he did. So he's getting out. And what are we talking about? I'm talking about Revelation 17. We're trying to read it properly, real prophecy, and I'll give you some prophecies at the end, and then the news. Okay, so we're not going to take you. So here's the problem with people. They always run right straight to the mark of the beast, 666. That's years away, people, okay? And so we have to get there first. We have to do the logistics first. So we're not going to do this. We're not going to, wonder about what the mark is and wonder about, you know what? That's years away. And when we get there, we'll get there. I was listening to John Haller this morning, and he mentioned, well, it looks like Europe is talking about some kind of a digital currency. Yes, the digital currencies, I'll show you that slide in a little bit about what's going on there and why I think things are shifting. But we're going to go through 17 instead because the United Nations is going to run the world at some point in time, and they're evil. And they made sure that they told you that they were evil by putting this multicolored beast from Revelation 13 out in front of their whatever. And then the man slaying the dragon up above. And anyway, let's just read 17, Revelation 17, 15 through 18. Then he said to me, the waters that you saw where the whore is sitting are peoples, crowds, nations, and languages. As for the 10 horns that you saw and the beast, they will hate the whore, bring her to ruin, leave her naked, eat her flesh, and consume her with fire. For God put into their hearts to do what will fulfill his purpose, that is, to be of one mind and give their kingdom to the beast until God's words have accomplished their intent. And the woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. I'm saying it's New York City. Okay, and it's really America. And I'm saying that the whore is, the word in the Greek is porneia, and it sounds like porn. And there's something porn related in America. And if you look around right now with how we are cursing Israel, not us. I mean, people like me are blessing Israel because we know that our blessings come through Israel. Though that's the promise. That's the covenant. So the main thing is it seems like it's going to occur, but logistically, New York just doesn't fall in 5 minutes. Okay. And the dollar might last for another 5 years, and be the dominant currency. It might last, or a digital dollar might last into the Great Tribulation. We don't know how this is going to work out, but we do know that the markets have nothing behind them. So we'll cover that. So there are many big bad players out there. Okay. There's big tech, there's big satellites, big pharma, big media, big woke. They're they care about themselves. They don't care about you. Today we'll be covering the Dow and the big banks. We China will be involved in this at some point in time. The church is not helpful right now. We'll talk about. We've got a slide on that too. Big church, big slavery, which is. They want to enslave us. They want us to, as Yuval Noah Harari says, you will own nothing and be happy. Well, you won't. You will not be happy with that. And then big cosmos. The world, the cosmos is changing people. We'll talk about that another time. I have one slide on that though. So why has the Dow surged since Halloween? And that's what I'm stating has occurred. It has gone bonkers, crazy, wonderful since Halloween. That doesn't make sense. That means that somebody's getting out. And so the fundamentals behind it is the interest payments on the 33.7 trillion in U.S. national debt is now annualized at over 1 trillion per year. Okay, this is the second largest item in the budget behind Social Security. Interest on the debt is now more than defense, with 6 trillion of debt maturing in the next, horrible. This is not a dead cat bounce. I've been watching dead cat bounces for years. This is not one of those. And so a dead cat would be the market's dead, but it's going to bounce one more time so people can get out. No, this is a flawed market, and this is people operating kind of like a dead cat, but they're going to push this thing up so they can get some money out of it still. It's not ready yet. There's a process. So there's a logistics, as I've been stating. There's a biblical logistics that needs to occur. Dow ripped higher last week. Why doubters don't believe in this rebound? So that's from Market Watch. Yeah, I don't believe in it. November 5th. That's correct. I do not believe in this rebound. It makes no sense at all. So once again, this is what happened from October 30th. You can see Halloween in there, in the 31st, and then it just goes bonkers up from basically $32,500 to $34,000, really, really fast. Not a dead cat bounce, because a dead cat bounce has a higher point before and then a lower point, and then it drops off that. We're not on one of those. We're on a seismic shift. Okay, that's about as accurate as I can get. But when you're over $34,000 and your fundamentals are that messed up, something wrong is happening. Okay, so and it's kind of a conspiracy. Okay, so Treasury bonds with maturities of 10 years or more have tanked 46%, and losses on the 30-year bonds are down 53%, according to Bloomberg. So this is like the dot-com era, the 2008 crashes. America's broke, according to Kiyosaki. I like Robert Kiyosaki. I'll cite him again in another slide here. He warns that a crash landing is coming. Fed is smoking fantasy weed. Here are the 3 assets he likes for shock proofing. Yeah. Okay. So Kiyosaki, again, I said I like him. He said most people won't make it to 2025. That's kind of true and kind of not true. There will be more deaths. I'll explain that later on. But people aren't ready for what's going to occur. There will be a retail apocalypse. Restaurants will close down. When you're paying horrible prices for food at a restaurant, you can't afford it. So you'll just eat at home. And with inflation, if you want to eat and want to survive, and your rents are going through the roof too, and home owners, your home prices are through the roofs too. Doesn't make sense. So Kiyosaki's trick has always been to use debt to invest and pay less taxes. He's always said, I don't like to pay taxes, and he's right. The worst thing is when I was a business owner and I owned a copier company, and we had to pay taxes on parts that may or may not never be sold, and so we were paying taxes on having inventory, whatever. And my banker kept on saying, well, we want your assets to be high, so we want you to keep those on the books. And it's like, I should be writing them off. Well, anyway, okay, the stock market didn't crash this week, but we're still in a bear market. Okay, fine. So that's investor place. And so I'm saying that the Bitcoins of the world, the Litecoins, and I'll show you the slide in a minute. Ethereum, ETH, is hot right now, and it will be hot. So basically what they're saying is that the the investors are getting out of the main markets, the Dow, and going into a sideline market. They're not ready to jump into gold or silver yet, because gold and silver really don't move like you want them to move. I mean, silver's up, gold is up, but not like you would think. I mean, not like it was a few years ago. Okay, so this is Martin Armstrong. I think he's wonderful. He's wrong about Israel, but his theories and his oh goodness, I'm blanking on the name of what he calls his computer. Anyway, the main thing is Socrates. He has his Socrates program. And so he's predicted these crashes. He's very correct with how things work. You can see in there at 2034 and then 2035, you can see that dead cat bounce. And then he says things will shift to China by 2037. I think he's correct in terms of peak timeframes and things like that, but there will be a downturn at some point in time, and we seem to be in that. Now we'll see. So that's Armstrong. Armstrong says get tangible assets and includes gold and silver as core assets while he sells those. He also thinks the global economy will implode. Europe first. That's interesting. That sounds like Wilkerson. Wilkerson said Europe when he was writing his book, but he said Germany in his audio tape. So Europe first, then Japan, USA last. So keep that in mind. You'll watch things fall in pieces, and we will be the last ones. Okay? But the USA goes down last. Armstrong says the economy will tank in America, but it will be much worse in blue states, such as New York, California, Illinois, and probably Minnesota, like me. We're just crazy here. Our politicians are nuts. It could be worse than the Great Depression. This is from Game of Trades. U.S. population growth has collapsed. We're reaching near 0%, indicating almost no growth in population. That's how you die as a nation. You need people, you need workers, you need bodies. Okay, nobody really wants to have babies right now. And you could see at other points in time, like during the Great Tribulation, nobody wanted to have babies. During other horrible time frames, World War I, nobody wanted to have babies. Okay, so default rate above financial crisis levels. So the defaults are going to be horrible on homes, on businesses. Oh, it's horrible. If you owned like a mall right now, you'd take a bath on that. Okay, let's see, total U.S. consumer debt just hit 17 trillion. Credit card rates above 20%. Yeah, the poor people with credit cards, it's going to be horrific. And then way over to the right, this is what happens when high interest rates crushes demand supply dynamics. U.S. homeowner vacancy rate is at levels. So the only people buying homes right now are the Chinese and super billionaires. They're buying the homes. They're pricing us out of our own homes. Okay, this is ridiculous, but they figure it's a safe investment. And it is, but it's brutal. They shouldn't be allowed to do that because they price regular Americans out of their homes, and worldwide for that matter too. The bond bloodbath as inflation is rising again. It's all collapsing now, and there's no way out. So Wolf Richter is calling it a bond bloodbath, good part due to high increases in inflation, and so the bonds are just tanking. And part of the problem is the interest rates and the risk of buying long, 30-year bonds. Well, what's going to happen in 30 years? Everything's so volatile right now. So basically, they're saying it's going to tank. The Fed started tightening, and particularly since the bond market started waking up now that inflation is rising again. And based on the third seal, which seems to be apparent, it's going to get worse. The bond market is going to get much worse than inflation. Just get ready for it. It'll be much, much worse. Moody's downgrades Treasury's credit. Yeah. Janet Yellen doesn't really know what she's doing, and so this is according to the Daily Doom and David. And it didn't take long. Another credit downgrade has just hit the U.S. Treasury after the stock market closed. So even though the market's going up, all the fundamentals are going down. Okay, so it doesn't make any sense at all. The market doing Fed's job, not anymore. Okay, so and I love David's writing. The Daily Doom. Okay, now the other thing is you should be looking to your pastor for help right now. But the problem is some of the pastors are prosperity pastors, and some, and the book of Job is proof that it is the prosperity gospel. But the main thing is your pastors are acting like CEOs over a harlot body. There are a few good pastors out there, but the bulk of them right now are just looking to build bigger buildings, make more money. It's really a growth strategy, and we need good pastors right now. And unfortunately, those pastors died 20 years ago, and now we're stuck with what the dregs. They're not helping us. I want you to keep this in mind. The winner takes most. So when I ran my business, part of the reason why I'm no longer in business is that the winners took most. And so they were able to, as technology peaks, you'll see it drive the weaker companies out, and only the stronger guys can survive, or stronger people. And so whenever technology is applied, ratios bend to push out the weak. The problem is today that 93% are excluded from dating or starting a company, and it'll get worse. So, people like Jamie Dimon are getting out because as AI starts to move forward, winner takes all. Okay, it'll push many, many people out of jobs and things like that. Okay, how many people are actually gainfully employed right now? They're lying to us. I know they're lying to us. There are many more people not working. So basically, every quarter, every month, they post jobs numbers, and then they adjust for it 2 or 3 or 4 months later, and they don't talk about that. They're lying to us. Okay, 8 of the past 8 months have been revised sharply lower, and what only idiots cannot see is clearly mandated political propaganda designed to make the economy look stronger in the first glance, then quietly revise the growth away. Yeah. According to the media, there is no indication of a recession, but the next month one began. So this is from David again. This is our doomster, and so keep that in mind. It seems as though the employment gauge is just broken. And of course, the wealthy, they have fake muscles, they have fake assets. That they don't look like that after work. I used to run a company and work 10, 12 hours a day. And I would work out, but I was a naturally strong man. But these guys, they're taking testosterone boosters, they're taking shots. That they're, yeah, Zuckerberg, oh, I tore my ACL. Well, you know, obviously Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg are not naturally like that. So obviously they're taking supplements. They are. It's all fake. And they don't care about you also. Okay, so the road to serfdom. This is where we're going to. Basically, they're setting up a system which is Revelation 17 and Revelation 13, where the mark of the beast hits, and you're serfs. Okay, and right now they don't have narcissistic rage, but at some point in time they will have narcissistic rage, and you don't want to be around these leaders when they become Hitler and when things don't work well. So once again, this is where I think things are going. So basically, they're converting from stocks. So BlackRock just unleashed nuclear winter, sparking Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana rather, and crypto price panic. And so you're going to see the cryptos jump up. And this is from Forbes, so it is accurate. And so they know that as BlackRock is going to go into Ethereum, basically, and Bitcoin, but Ethereum is better for them, that it will drive those prices up, and then they'll pull out of the stock market into the cryptos, and then eventually into something else. That's just the way it's going to work. And they don't care what happens to you. So I wish your pastor cared about you, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So the wars. My take on all of this is that as we go forward, you'll have wars and rumors of wars. You will not have World War III until the end. You will have attacks against Israel, but I'm stating that you will have more pressure against Israel, against Jewish people across the world to move back home. And so Netanyahu is going to be the guy. All the prophecies match up with that. But you'll see Iran play in this space, okay? And you'll see probably something similar to a caliphate at some point in time. We'll talk again about Daniel 11 and my take on that. But basically, you're going to see more wars, and that will push the currencies around, and you're going to see the BRICS nations come against America and the West and try to set up their own currencies and try to set up their own financial exchange and things like that. The currency wars are just as bad as hot wars with nukes and things like that, because the little guys get hungry. Okay, so now we're going to read from the prophecy side. So we're going to go through 3-4 prophecy slides here. So let's go through. Alexander Dugin is the brain behind Putin and Russia. So he's saying the civilization of the Antichrist. If the West, as it now supports Israel, uh, if the West, as it is now, supports Israel, it is seriously guilty of something. After all, if the devil's civilization is on your side, then you have done something wrong. There is no such thing as Judeo-Christian world. It just doesn't make sense. Well, there is, but he doesn't get it because he's Eastern Orthodox and he's Eurasian. Okay, so he doesn't understand that the Christians and the Jews should love each other because it's the same God. It's the same everything. And also the blessings from Genesis 12:3 apply all the way through to the Christians. So the Palestinian conflict with Israel was not the front line of a conflict with civilizations. Now it is. Just as the tensions between Russia and Ukraine were regional in character until the Nazis in Kiev were supported by the West, the war in Ukraine has become the front line of a global confrontation between multipolarity and unipolarity. The scope of this confrontation is growing. The situation is becoming more and more sinister. Already billions of people on the planet are convinced that the collective West and its allies are absolute evil and the civilization of the Antichrist. Democrats, globalists, neoconservatives are leading humanity straight into the abyss, which strictly speaking is what demons are supposed to do. That is a prophecy coming from Dugin. He's not really a prophet. He's more of a philosopher, but he's a brilliant man. And so he's trying to set up this fight between their system and our system, and the West has done a good job of taking the bait. Good job. Okay, so now the most important prophecy of this, which is Dmitry Duduman, who died in about 1997. Wonderful, great man. I'm friends with his grandson, Michael Boldea. So this is the prophecy. He said, remember this, Dmitry. The Russian spies have discovered where the nuclear warehouses are in America. When the Americans think that it is peace and safety for the middle of the country, some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the ocean, from Cuba, Nicaragua, Mexico, he told me some other countries, but I couldn't remember what they were. They will bomb nuclear warehouses. Then they will explode. America will burn. So the attack will come at some point in time. I think it's late, people. I think it's basically World War III of whatever sort it is comes at the end during the Gog-Magog time. Okay, and I've cited that many, many times now. So the mark of the beast comes later. Gog-Magog comes at the end. And this is one more prophecy from him. This is from 1989 from Dmitry. I had just returned home from Wisconsin. Every time I prayed, a very big star would appear in front of me. This happened about 16 times in a period of a few days. Every time the star would disappear, it would make a great noise and it would always tremble. For a few seconds, it would stand up high and then at great speed, it would fall to the ground. I prayed together with my family for an hour for an answer. After the 16th time the answer came, I heard the voice say, do you see this star? It represents America. This is how fast the fall of America will be, as fast as the star fell. Then the voice said, I love the Christians in this country because of all the good deeds they have done and for the help they have given those in need. I bless this country so other people would be fed from it. The voice also said, there will be a time of preparation for the people. The ones who need to repent should do it now before it is too late. The time without trouble will last until the total number of the chosen is fulfilled, which is based on Obadiah 1:4. My prayer is that God will have mercy on this nation. So that's Duduman. Here's another prophecy that I want to cite. This is the Lubavitcher Rebbe from many, many years ago. He died in about 1994. Wonderful man, great man. And so he met with Netanyahu, and basically he made it sound like Netanyahu is the guy that's going to be running Israel when the Messiah returns. So even though you're seeing Netanyahu get punched around a lot, keep in mind, he's kind of God's choice. So watch Netanyahu. He's not perfect. He's not evil. He's just a guy. He's a politician, but he is blessed by God because he's probably the only guy that can love God and get the Jews through this time frame. And what I'm telling you is going to happen is that the Jews are going to be persecuted worldwide. They're going to be forced back to Israel, and Netanyahu is going to be part of that, and so he's going to be a hero. So he's it's going to be interesting to watch as Netanyahu elevates. Okay. And he can handle it because he's had some tough years. Keep in mind also that the world is occurring. Well, okay, so basically the cosmos, the sun is doing the same thing as always, but 5 times, 6 times now this year, we have seen low level aurora borealis. So that means our ozone layer is thinning, our magnetosphere is thinning, and so that means that it's going to be interesting. So the wealthy people are noticing this, okay? And so just keep that in mind when you see the aurora. There could be aurora tonight, okay? And keep in mind also then, so Persia, there might be an attack sooner on this, but it will not be a world war. So Persia is Iran. This is Ezekiel 38:39. And as I've stated before, there will be a second Exodus. The persecution against, they called it in this article in Rare, that's the global Jew hunt. And it is, that will drive them back. So Persia is doing God's will. The other people in the rest of the world are doing God's will to drive the Jews back for the second Exodus. So keep in mind, that's kind of where things are going right now. So where are we? We're in the birth pangs. We seem to be in seal 4. I had we'll call it a visitation from what I thought was the angel of death. That would have been, oh goodness, where's my notes? That would have been August 19th of 2023, where I was just typing, you know what I do, I was creating everything. And I think that we're going to be experiencing more death. So that was Elul 2, and that's back in August. And we are seeing the war in Israel right now, which is more death. And we're also seeing more death across the world. More persecution against believers. So we're not in the tribulation. We're not in the great tribulation. We're watching the fake markets collapse, but it still could last months and years. And we're also seeing people slide into cryptos, and then they'll probably go into gold and silver after that. But you're going to see a global currency at some point in time. I still think it's a few years away, but you'll see that the logistics of that start to move. So what do you need to work on? You and your family, you need to work on your garments, to have garments, have them clean, and get ready for the wedding that's coming up. Who knows? We might be 9 years away from it. So work on it, and be prepared for it. So be blessed. Thank you very much for your time, and I think we covered it well enough. Bye-bye. Be blessed.